What's up, you guys? We are back with another video. My name is Crystal Denitra, and thank you for tuning in to Truth TV Podcast. I see I have some new subscribers, so I want to say thank you to subscribing to the channel. Just a little bit about my background. I am a narcissistic and domestic abuse survivor. I am not a victim by any means. I wanted to start this platform to be able to get my story out there to enable others to make the same decisions that I made in regards to walking away from toxic relationships. I know it's one of the hardest things I had to do. Just to give the new people a little bit more information, I was married to a narcissist for 14 years. We were together for 20 years, high school sweethearts, that type of thing. I was in a very bad domestic situation, and I knew I needed to get out to save myself and save my children. That was one of the hardest decisions that I had to make, but I knew it was important to make that decision just to live a full quality of life. I know it's hard to walk away from people, but when people are toxic, we have to do the right thing. God will show you so many different signs, so many different red flags that I ignored in that situation. And I know I talked about it in my other previous videos. I shared a little bit about my DV story, so check those out. And also like, share, and subscribe to those videos and make comments as well. And as always, if there's a specific topic you guys want to talk about, you can email me at truth.tvpodcast. But I started this platform just to start healing myself, along with going back to therapy. And, I had to take medication just for anxiety and depression reasons. I wanted to start a platform for me to be able to get certain things out, certain things that I don't necessarily want to mention to my therapist, or certain things that she already knows. And again, to allow other people to share their stories as well. Like I said, I'm not a victim by any means. I am triumphant over this thing, and I am surviving this thing one day at a time. It was not easy. Making the decision to walk away from a 20-year relationship wasn't easy, but again, when it came down to my children witnessing certain things and certain events, I knew that I had to make a change. And how I left that situation, I actually moved out while he was at work. We had discussions for years about us separating, but no one was ready to take that first step. Who wants to start all over? Who wants to go from two incomes to one? Who wants to worry about, how you're going to feed your kids or becoming a single parent? Those are all the things that was playing a part in staying at the time. But at the end of it, I knew I had to leave. And, the red flags were there. They've been there for years, but I just ignored them. Like I told you guys, we had got into a domestic dispute way before we even got married, where I had a finger broken. He choked me up really bad. All because, he was drinking and upset because I came to get him from a friend's house. The friend said, hey, your husband's over here tearing up my house. I need you to come get him. And so that event led up to other events, and I just felt like at a point he was going to unalive me. The rage that he used to have would bother me. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't sleep. I started having anxiety, but I didn't know what anxiety was at the time. Just every time he would come around, my body would shake. And I'm like, hold on, this is not a good situation that I need to be in. And I know in the previous videos, I do reference him a lot. That's because I'm still healing from the trauma. Now, there's no love there at all. We are not friends by far, because I feel like once you leave a toxic situation, how can you be their friend again? You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't work that way. So we barely speak. When we do speak, it's specifically for the kids, and that's it. I don't want to have any relationship with him. I'm not on the phone talking to him late at night or anything like that. All of that stuff has been cut out. And we actually still now, to this day, meet at the Redford Police Department. That's where we do our pickups and drop-offs, every weekend. Because I had to make a conscious decision that if I'm going to walk away, I have to play the part. I can't, be his friend. I can't be on the phone gossiping to him, telling him, how I can't pay a bill or this or that, because all of that stuff at the end, he's just going to use it and throw it up against me at a later date. So I had to get smart. Like I said, again, it's not an easy thing to do, but it's so important. The red flags again were there and I just ignored them. And God will give you plenty of signs, in the beginning, that things that this person is not for you, that things are not going to work out. But again, we ignore them, just thinking that we can change a person, help heal a person. No one can do their own healing. We can't do healing for other people. The person has to be able to want to heal themselves. So that's very important to understand. We can't change people. We have high hopes and, good thoughts for people, but we can't ultimately change them. They have to want to change for themselves. And once I saw that the change wasn't going to happen, I knew that I had to step in and make a change. So that's where I'm at with that. And then also just growing up, being abused by a narcissistic parent, physically, mentally, I was still grown and we were still having fist fights, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just being honest. And even with that situation, I had to make up in my mind, make a conscious decision that it's time to walk away from this. Recently, I went no contact with her. And I know she probably over there throwing a fit. She sent cards. She's, tried to contact my daughter to say, hey, what's your mom up to? But, even I told my daughter, you can have a relationship with her. I'm not telling my kids anything bad about anybody. I'm not going to smear them, or I'm not going to make them basically feel how they make me feel. You know what I'm saying? A lot of lies and stuff have been told about me. And I'm just such an empathic person. I care about people. So that's another thing. When you care about people too much, or you show empathy, they use that same empathy against you. And I just got tired of it. At a point, it gets old, as I'm getting older, I'm getting wiser, and I just won't tolerate certain things in my space. But the importance of leaving a toxic relationship is this. You will block so many blessings that God has for you if you keep being around people that mean you no good, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a sexual relationship, whether it's a parent, sibling, whoever. At this point in my life, I had to make a conscious decision that it's all about me and my peace. I have lost weight over the years. I have gained weight over the years from stress, anxiety, depression, and it just left me in a bad physical state. I've been hospitalized for depression. I have passed out in cars before, just being overwhelmed with what I had going on for the day. And all of that stuff is unhealthy. And what I had to learn is you're not cutting them off. You're cutting them off for yourself. It's all about self-care now. I'm 40. I have a beautiful 16-year-old son and a beautiful 9-year-old daughter, and I have to live for them, and I just got tired of dealing with people that didn't align with where God was taking me. Even with this podcast, like I said, I would have never been able to do this. I've been putting it off for so long. If you guys go back, my original video was 9 months ago, but I was still being abused by a toxic parent. Just telling me that I couldn't do this or couldn't do that. Or every time I had good news, it wasn't good news to her. So I had to learn how to tune that stuff out and tune in to what God was saying. Like in the other videos, I talked about how I was a heavy smoker. And again, I'm not bashing anybody who smokes. I'm not being the goody two shoes because I don't smoke anymore. But I had to find ways to listen to God. For me, meditation, I started to get into that so I can hear what God has to tell me. Doing this podcast is not easy, but I wait to listen to what God has to tell me for that day to get the message across to others. So smoking wouldn't allow me to do that. If I'm high all day, how can I listen to God? I'm zoned out. I'm trying to, smoke so I can clean the house or, whatever. But leaving toxic relationships is important because you block your blessings. God doesn't want you to be around people that you don't need to be around. Sometimes I sat in relationships and I wondered why I wasn't going far or, why I wasn't achieving my goals and doing the things that I wanted to do. And God just kept telling me, because that person is not for you. They are literally pulling you down. And I know I'm not the only one who experienced that. When you get around certain people, Your hands may start shaking, or you may start sweating in areas that you don't typically sweat in. Those are all signs that that person is not good for you. Like I said, it could be a friendship, it can be a, sexual relationship, it can be anything, a parent mother relationship, father son relationship. It can be any of that. So when God gives you those signs, it's very important to listen. Even dealing with the flagell ninjas, I'm gonna just call them that, ladies. We know what flagell is. Flagell is a medication that we take when we get BV. So even dealing with people who don't clean themselves every day, that's a red flag. Not saying that they're toxic, but they definitely dirty. They definitely not washing up. I got tired of dealing with that. I said, every time I look around, my pH changing, child, and I can't get things together, and I'm having certain smells that I just needed to walk away and leave that alone. And I mean, that's just one example of learning to walk away when things are not good for you. You can't make up what's not there. You can't save anybody. You can't change someone's mindset. So once you see that someone's mindset does not want to change and they want to continue abusing you and continue to put you down, it's time to make a change. Like I said, I've stopped so many blessings and blocked so many of my own blessings because I was with people that I didn't need to. And even after my divorce, every relationship that I had wasn't terrible, but pretty much they were all narcissists. I've only had one or two good relationships, and it just didn't work out because we had different goals at the time. It's a couple men that were some stand-up men, but they had things going on in their family, or they moved out of town for a job, and I knew I couldn't move. Because currently I'm still in a custody order, so I can only be so many miles away from my ex. So, and I want to move. I want to move out of state. I want to move about because I just don't feel like my next husband is here in Michigan because that's where I'm based. But even with that, as long as I'm a far distance away from the abuse and I don't have to take it, I'm fine with that. But that will come at a later date when I'm able to move about. But sometimes when you're in toxic relationships, you do bring that old baggage into new relationships. You pretty much ruin healthy relationships with people that you can establish good relationships with. And I've done that. It's a couple girlfriends that I miss tremendously. But because I had so much baggage and, so much stuff going on with my ex-husband, people just got tired of hearing it, because everybody has their own stuff to deal with. Everybody has their own trauma and drama to deal with. And not everybody is going to be as boisterous to talk about it. And so that's another thing that I'm learning, that you can't bring all that extra baggage and old stuff from relationships and bring it and put it on somebody else's lap. Number one, that's not fair to them. And number two, they have their own life to live. You know what I'm saying? Most of the people that I know that are going through a divorce of domestic situations and different traumas and stuff like that, they want to walk away, but some of them just don't have the financial means to do that, because it takes a lot to, for example, get divorced and go down from, two incomes to one, or just having that financial support. Even though my ex-husband used to, take money out the account so I couldn't get it, just do little, just financial abusive things, to kind of get under my skin and make me rely on him, because it was a lot of times that I wasn't working, but then there were times that I was working and, he still wanted to control the funds and things like that. So leaving a toxic relationship is not easy by far, but like I said, it's so necessary to not hurt new people that want to enter your life, new people that God is pushing towards you and that will root for you and will genuinely be there and care and love you, and like I said, you block blessings. I couldn't understand for the life of me why me and this man couldn't never, purchase a home. You know what I'm saying? The money he was making and the money I was bringing in, we just could not buy a home for anything. But then as soon as we got divorced, we each purchased our own home. So that just tells me and goes to show that sometimes being together you can't get certain things done because that's not God's ultimate goal. And I'm not pushing God in anybody's throat. You know, I know God for myself, and I can only speak on, you know, for me. You know, if you don't believe in God, or if you have another God, that's fine. But, or you want to say the universe, that's fine. But for me, God opened up the door for me to purchase this home because I got away from that situation. Same thing when I was dating people that I shouldn't have dated. God allowed so much bad stuff to happen to me. I got into 2 horrible car accidents. 2020, September 13th, 2020. I was with somebody in the car that I shouldn't have been with. Actually, it was the person that when I left my husband, I started dating. He actually helped me move out of my ex's home that we had together. And I knew I shouldn't have been with him, number one, because my divorce wasn't even final. You know, even though I was mentally gone, I was mentally checked out, I would say 3 years before I actually got a divorce. And but still just inviting that person in your space. And then he ended up to be very verbally abusive and tried to get physically abusive. That was God's way of telling me, you can't jump into one thing if you haven't even closed the door on this other thing. You know what I'm saying? And technically I was still married. I can be honest and say that, even though I was separated, moved out, it doesn't matter. God looks at it, you know, for what it is. It is what it was. And so I got into a bad car accident with him. I ended up getting into a bad car accident with someone else. It left my arm. This left arm right here is basically hanging on by a thread. I have a torn rotator cuff, herniated disc in my neck, my back, my C5, C6, all of that's torn up, you know. So it took me off the job that I was doing for 10 years. I used to work in the lab at the different hospitals in management and things like that. So I can't even perform the job that I'm used to. You know what I'm saying? I have to find other ways to make money that don't require standing up too long. So those are just examples. And I mean, both those cars got tore up to shreds, honey. I'm talking about total. Couldn't drive the car off. The police just left the car there. So those were ways that God was showing me that this is not who I have for you. You know what I'm saying? It seems like I never had a break. You know what I'm saying? I was married for all of those years, with that person for all of those years. And then I kept getting out of relationships, getting into another one, getting out of relationships, getting to another one. This is the first time that I haven't been with anybody. And this is my healing. You know, this is my healing process. You know what I'm saying? And it's necessary. I need to give myself a year or 2 or maybe even 3. But I would say, I was listening to a Dr. Romani. You guys, you can look her up on YouTube. She has a video about leaving toxic relationships, and she mentioned that you should try to give yourself a year. You know, give yourself a year to heal and to be a good person for the next person, because you don't want to take this baggage in. You don't want to spoil what could possibly be a good thing. And like I said, I know it's hard to leave, but you have to do what's necessary. Even, matter of fact, if you have kids, it's detrimental. Because number one, you don't want your kids growing up or seeing what's going on in the household. And number two, you don't want them to grow up to be like the person that you were with. You know, kids mirror and they kind of act like a copycat to what their parents do, or what, you know, what their parents got going on. And it's just not, it's not a good thing. So I would definitely say, if you are being abused right now, definitely call that crisis hotline, that 988 number, and talk to someone. They will help you come up with an exit plan that's safe, you know, because that was my other thing. I had to leave when it was safe. I knew I couldn't move out when that man was at home, because I knew he would, you know, I'm not trying to be funny, unalive me. You know, even after we separated, I think not even a week after I left him, he went and purchased a weapon, a pow. And I'm like, what is this for? You never had a pow this whole time I was with you for 20 years. So what do you have this for? So that put my antennas up. I don't know if he thought that I was going to have somebody come by his house or beat him up or whatever, but that was never my intention. My intention was just to get the hell away from you. So like I said, you guys, it's a tough thing leaving toxic relationships, but You know, you don't want to block your blessings. You want to be able to move forward. And like I said, this is my healing process. I'm doing all the necessary things that I have to do to heal myself because, you know, for years I was just this angry girl. You know what I'm saying? When people met me, they thought I had an attitude problem or I was just angry. It was me just coping with the abuse that I was getting on a daily basis, whether it was from my parent, whether it was from my ex-husband. I just didn't know how to cope with it. So it made me angry. You know, it made me not want to deal with people. It made me, you know, want to be snippy to people. But I'm realizing that I was blocking my blessings then too, because now it's like I'm craving healthy relationships. You know, I'm craving people who are like-minded. I'm craving people who have the same goals as me. You know, that's very important because you don't want to be around people who are not like-minded. They're going to get you into trouble. They're going to get you into things that you know, that you don't want to be in or you shouldn't be in. And even with those toxic people, excuse me, y'all. Even with those toxic people, they had me in stuff that I didn't want to be in. I started drinking. I felt like at one point I was becoming an alcoholic. This was about 2.5 years ago. I was dating someone who just constantly drank all the time, and he would go get us shots in the morning. You know what I'm saying? I invited the fool to come live with me. Shouldn't have did that. You know, so I was just doing things that was not in alignment with what God had for me. And once I sat back and saw the bigger picture, I knew I had to remove myself. You know, you don't ever want, you know, if you have children, to see those, you know, toxic people doing certain things to you. Because like I said, they can become copycats later on in life, and you just don't want that. So that is my word today. You know, don't block your blessings, y'all. Do not block your blessings. Leave the fragile ninjas alone. The ninjas that change your pH, and just ninjas that ain't no good for you, just walk away. And same thing for a woman. If a man is dating a toxic woman, you have to walk away. I know 2 people right now that are being abused by their significant other, and they are men getting abused. You know what I'm saying? Men go through this stuff too. So I don't want anybody to think that I'm just male bashing. And those people, I tell them the same thing. You have to walk away. And they have children involved. You have to walk away. You cannot stay in something that is going to be detrimental to you, detrimental to your health. Like I said, I've been through so many different things, and my body reacts. My body is the telltale sign. When somebody is not good for me, my body is going to let me know, honey, because I will have a panic attack in a minute, and I'll be looking at them like, you know, and they looking at me, and I already know what it is. It's my spirit is not aligning with their demons. And God said, if you don't get up out of that thing, honey, you might not be able to make it out. And I never wanted to be a statistic that way. Even this last fool that I had that's trying to come back, you know, he keeps texting and all of this stuff. And I just told him, I'm not interested. And if you keep calling me, I'm going to get the police involved. I'm going to call your PO and I'm going to call the police, because at this point, I'm not going to be out here fighting with no ninja. I'm not going to be out here having you pull my hair. You know what I'm saying? Giving me black eyes, busted lips, and all of that crazy stuff. I'm not dealing with none of that no more. I'm going to let the authorities handle it. And if you really get crazy, I'm going to let this 9 talk. Okay? Because I got one too. And I'm not playing. You have to be that way. You have to be that way. Toxic people will make your nervous system just shut down, honey. I'm talking about, like I said, I was having panic attacks left and right and just didn't understand it. People was finding me in cars. I remember one time I was dating one of the people that I was in the accident with. And I was sitting in his mom's driveway. We had just came back from somewhere. And he was talking to me and telling me about how he can go back to his ex or his ex-girlfriend. And I passed out right in the car. I woke up. He was smacking my face and the EMS was taking me out the car, because he had got on my nerves that bad to the point where I just checked out and blanked out, and still took him back after that. You know, even after we broke up, I think I let that fool come back 2 or 3 times. But until that last time when that car accident happened, honey, I just knew that I couldn't do it no more. So I think that's all I have for today. So, like I said, help is available. You don't have to be in this thing alone. If you guys have any questions, you can email me at truth.tvpodcast@gmail. Follow us on Instagram too at truth_TV podcast. We would love to hear from you. If you guys want to be anonymous and you want to come on a platform, I would invite you to do so. I'm still working on my special guest for this week, so bear with me with that. I just have to check to make sure things are okay on her end. But until next time, you guys be blessed, stay safe, and call that number if you have to. Peace, you guys.